Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It gets curiouser and curiouser. But anyhow, we've got the big event coming up on Sunday, and I'm going to tell you today how much one 30-second spot is going to cost an advertiser in the Super Bowl. It will boggle your mind. In addition, our worthy president went to a mosque that is in league with a group that believes that jihad is the way, and the Sharia law is the rule, and the book is the Quran. And he went to talk about tolerance. Mm-hmm. And he's spoken out to, quote, encourage people of faith. He wants to encourage the Muslim faith. He made those remarks at a mosque, and as I said earlier, one that has ties to the Muslim Brotherhood.
The president's been trying to improve relations between Muslims and the United States, but not everyone believes he's been successful. Jennifer Wishon brings us the story.
It was a big deal when President Obama's motorcade pulled up to the Islamic Society just outside of Baltimore. Hand-picked Muslims from New York to L.A. scored a private talk with the president on what it's like to be Muslim in America.
Our television shows should have some Muslim characters that are unrelated to national security.
The president, who's drawn criticism for using words like violent extremism instead of radical Islam, says changing his words won't solve any problems.
This is not a clash of civilizations between the West and Islam. This is a struggle between the peace-loving, overwhelming majority of Muslims around the world and a radical, tiny minority.
He told Muslims they should never feel like they don't belong in the USA.
In these uncertain times, some of us might find ourselves doubting where we fit in this society. Personally, this visit by our president is an affirmation to all Muslims we are just as American as any other.
The president's mosque visit was timely as many Muslim Americans report feeling marginalized as concerns about the Islamic State grow. But security experts and even some Muslims wonder why the president chose this particular mosque.
For 17 years, you had an imam at this mosque who later became the regional director of an organization that was named by Treasury a specially designated terrorist organization that contributed funds to Osama bin Laden. I don't think he's ever been denounced. And you have, as I understand it, an imam serving there right now who has said things about homosexuality that I guarantee you, if those remarks had been said in a church or a synagogue, President Obama would not set foot there.
The mosque also has ties to groups like the Muslim Brotherhood, which have often been criticized by opponents of radical Islam. By choosing to visit it, May says the president may embolden such groups and frustrate Muslims working to root out Islamism, which is a movement to impose Sharia law and other Islamic traditions on the West. Improving relations between the U.S. and Muslim world has been a priority of President Obama from the beginning. Some would argue at the expense of how he's portrayed America.
I think a lot of Christians and others are a little bit disconcerted that he seems to have an apologetic tone about America towards Islam, as though America has mistreated Islam or Muslims, when in fact America is a land of great liberty and freedom for Muslims and for all people.
For a good part of his presidency, Obama has fought beliefs that he worships Allah.
Thomas Jefferson's opponents tried to stir things up by suggesting he was a Muslim, so I was not the first.
While he denounced Muslim bias, the president also told Muslims they have a duty to reject extreme ideologies.
To use a little Christian expression, let your light shine.
And if frustration sets in, he cautioned Muslims against choosing a life of extremism.
Don't respond to ignorance by embracing a worldview that suggests you must choose between your faith and your patriotism.
And as Americans continue to fight terrorism,
we are fighting an ideology that is based on a theology. And that we find that awkward.
Jennifer Wishon, CBN News.
You know, the Muslim Brotherhood was in charge for a time in Egypt, and the Egyptian people wanted no part of it, and they overthrew it. And Al-Sisi's government has come in very much pro-Western and in line with a number of the things we believe. The United States government has really refused to embrace the Al-Sisi government in Egypt, preferring apparently to side with the Muslim Brotherhood. Just, ladies and gentlemen, the Brotherhood sponsored and spawned the Palestine Liberation Organization. The Muslim Brotherhood sponsored the radical group Hezbollah in Lebanon. The Muslim Brotherhood has said jihad is our way. The Quran is our book. Sharia is our governing law. And so the president goes to a mosque that somehow is in tune with the Muslim Brotherhood. It sounds so benign, doesn't it? The Brotherhood. You think, oh, that's sweet. It's kind of like the Masons. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's the radical cover of some of the most vicious groups in the world. They were probably the ones who were responsible for the slaughter, the murder of Anwar Sadat some years ago in Egypt. But anyhow, that's the way we've got a president, Barack Hussein Obama. Well, government officials suspect that radical Islam is responsible for an explosion of a passenger jet in Somalia. John Jessup has that story.
Thanks, Pat. The blast took place when the airliner was already in flight, killing one person. And experts believe a bomb may have caused it. Dale Hurd has the story.
A mystery explosion at 11,000 feet. Cell phone video showing a hole in the side of the plane's cabin. The result of an explosion soon after takeoff from Somalia's capital, Mogadishu.
We saw a hole in the plane, and the first thing you worry about is, can we really make it?
The explosive force and rapid depressurization sucked a passenger in the window seat out of the aircraft. The body of an older man was found on the ground some 18 miles from the airport. 2 other passengers were injured.
I think for the first few seconds and minutes, there was I was terrified and most people were terrified.
The Airbus A321 headed to Djibouti was forced to land minutes after taking off. No group has claimed responsibility for the blast, but Somalia is home to the Muslim terrorist group Al-Shabab, which has carried out many deadly attacks across the nation. And some U.S. government experts believe the group, which is affiliated with Al-Qaeda, was behind the explosion. Counterterrorism officials are now concerned that Al-Shabab has stepped up its game and has figured out how to get bombs onto airliners. Somali officials say foreign technical experts have been called in to try to figure out what happened. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Thanks, Dale. The 2 remaining Democratic presidential candidates are fighting over who's best to advance the liberal agenda, with socialist Bernie Sanders questioning just how progressive Hillary Clinton really is. Tonight's showdown is the final debate between Clinton and Sanders before the New Hampshire primary, where Sanders is favored to win. Meanwhile, Ben Carson and Donald Trump are lashing out at Ted Cruz over his win in Iowa. Trump accuses Cruz of stealing this week's vote, saying Cruz only won because his team told Iowa voters Carson was about to quit the race. Cruz later called Carson to apologize, saying his team got the report from CNN. And Cruz fired back at Trump, saying he doesn't trust the billionaire's finger on the nuclear button. This comes as the GOP field shrinks, with Rand Paul and Rick Santorum dropping out, and now Senator Santorum endorsing Marco Rubio. Well, if you're like a lot of people, you won't be tuning into the Super Bowl this Sunday just to watch the game. You'll also be paying close attention to those commercials. The ads have become a big part of the broadcast when viewers watch intently to rate which ones are their favorites. But those commercials don't come cheap. This year, they've hit a record high price again at a whopping $5 million just for a 30-second national spot. Some analysts say it's worth it, considering many viewers look forward to the commercials as well as the game itself. Pat, in your opinion, is the $5 million investment worth that cost?
You'd have to have a stomach of cast iron to lay that kind of money down for 30 seconds. 30 seconds is over just like that. And you've blown $5 million. So to have a decent showing on there, you have to have probably 10 of them. So you're looking at 10 times $5 million.
Wow.
To get a decent play. And yet advertisers stand in line, and CBS, I believe, has got it, and they're going to really cash in. I mean, it's a big deal, and they're taking it. But you just wonder at what point will the consumer and the advertiser say it's all we can't stand it anymore.
Well, and you wonder, it's one thing to have your commercial talked about for a brief period of time. It's another to know whether sales actually are impacted by that or not.
Well, apparently they are. They wouldn't work, but that's the only time you can get a reach of that magnitude. I mean, there's nothing else you can buy, but to lay out $5 million in a 30-second pop, just think of it. I mean, $5 million. And then you have 2 of them as $10 million, and then you have 3 of them as $15 million, and you have 4 of them as $20 million. Yeah. That gets to be serious money after a while.
That is serious money, yes.
Wow.
Well, hopefully they're worth the watch, right?